Welcome to Just Picture It. I'm Fung. We live in Silicon Valley, and it's almost a secret that we also live in one of the most beautiful areas of the world. Thank goodness that we have Midpen Open Space, an organization that preserves our precious open space for future generations to enjoy and is open to the public free of charge. 2 million visits last year allowed Silicon Valley residents and families room to breathe. Our guests are Casey Hiatt, the Geographic Information Systems Administrator at Midpen. She creates maps of recreation, vegetation, wildlife, and waterways, and serves as project lead in planning and analysis supporting the Midpen Vision Plan. Kirk Lenington, another local, who is manager of the Natural Resources Department at Midpen, has a staff who looks after the 62,000 acres with a focus on rare and endangered species. His staff also restore nature, decontaminate, clean up sites, and manage the agricultural uses of the district's working spaces. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before we talk, let's take a quick look at what's going on today in Midpen Open Space.
The Midpeninsula Open Space District, otherwise known as Midpen, is immense, covering more than 60,000 acres, mostly in San Mateo and Santa Clara counties, with a small portion in Santa Cruz County. Nanette Hanko helped lead the effort to create Midpen. She's still a member of its board of directors and loves to see what the district has come to mean to so many for so long.
I wanted to see the people coming off the trails, to see how they looked, and they were happy. They all had smiles.
Yeah!
Hundreds of local residents have a good time every year, too, generously volunteering thousands of hours to help Midpen in many ways, because this is their open space district. Midpen is supporting another legacy of a relationship with the land, deep and spiritual, and thousands of years old.
Our creation story tells us that this is the mountaintop that the Creator first brought our people to and created us here.
Living in Silicon Valley, we could still honor our roots, honor the nature, honor the species around us, and stay connected to the earth.
With sustained public support, these grand open spaces and our connections to them will flourish and grow and will continue to take our breath away and give us room to breathe for generations to come.
Mm-hmm. Hey, what a beautiful space we live in. Midpen Open Space was created as a voter initiative in 1972. What is Midpen, Kirk?
Well, I think that our founders over 40 years ago, when they formed the district, had a vision for a park agency to be able to preserve and protect open space properties and connect the other open space that was already protected through the county parks and the state parks. At the same time, they saw an agency that could manage the lands and restore the environment for all the rare species that are in the Bay Area, and then also provide recreation for the population that lives in the Bay Area through trails for horseback riding, bike riding, and hiking.
Wow. You mentioned rare species. Now, most people think of Silicon Valley as just buildings, semiconductors, technology. What rare species could actually live here?
Yeah, there's quite a few. And you know, we've protected over 12,000 acres of redwood forests in our time trying to preserve the lands, and in those redwood forests are species such as marbled murrelet, which is a seabird that nests in the redwoods. Also, the redwoods form the headwaters for the streams that flow to the Pacific Ocean, and those streams provide habitat for coho salmon and steelhead trout. And as well, there's California red-legged frog, San Francisco garter snake, and numerous other species that occupy a lot of my time and my staff's time.
Wow. It must be quite a challenge to keep those resources going so that the special habitat needed by each of these species can be preserved.
Yeah, it's a lot of work that takes a lot of different specialties. I have people on my staff that are specialists in rangeland management, grassland management, weed management, forest management. There's all kinds of different specialties that we need to be able to be the best stewards of the land that we can be.
It's wonderful that we're stewards of the land, because I think let's take a look at what is the real reason that we need something like this in Silicon Valley. Casey, tell us about the overall picture of our situation with the global. I believe that Silicon Valley is one of the special places in the world.
Yes, it is. It absolutely is. And so Midpen is actually located in what's called a global biodiversity hotspot. And you can see we're located here in red here are all the global biodiversity hotspots around the world. There's only 25 global biodiversity hotspots. And there's 25 global biodiversity hotspots, and there's only 2 in the United States. And so people in the Silicon Valley may not realize that the plants and animals that are in Mid-Peninsula Regional Open Space District are not only important to us, but they are important to the entire globe. Yes.
Wonderful. So let's take a look at what the situation is in our specific local area.
Yes. So in order to be designated as a global biodiversity hotspot, you have to have lost 70% of the habitat. And unfortunately, California has lost 70% of the habitat. But after about starting 40 years ago, many agencies, and Midpen being one of them, started protecting the land here and this important resource. So if we look at this map here, we can show all the work that has been going on through a mosaic of different land protection agencies, one of them being Midpen. The dark green here are all of Midpen's open space districts, and the light green are the different land protection agencies that have protected this important resource that's not only important to us, but it's also important on the global scale. And the thing that's unique about this area is that we have this great biodiversity and these gorgeous natural areas in very close proximity, a 20-minute drive to a very large metropolitan area.
Casey, where is San Jose on that, so that we can have some orientation?
Yes, absolutely.
Let's go back. Yes.
All right. So San Jose.
Yeah.
San Jose is down over here in this area here. It's actually outside of our district boundary. And this area that's dark orange here, the darker, the higher population density. So you can see where all the people are living in such close proximity to this wonderful wildlife wilderness area.
Thank you, Casey. I remember when I first moved to the area, I didn't know about the wildlife at all. I didn't know where I could go for a hike. And I said, is there anywhere to go for a walk? And they said, you won't believe how much space there is to go for a walk. So it was wonderful. And having the population density against so close to such natural beauty is amazing. It's marvelous that the work that you're doing.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So how are we going to get there, Kirk? How are we going to keep preserving this while the population density continues to rise in our Bay Area?
Yeah, that's a challenge. And we had a very successful first 40 years. And as we were looking at how we were going to be preserving additional lands, our board of directors discovered or decided that we needed to look to the future in a big way and to look to the next 40 years. What was the district going to do?
The next 40 years?
40 years, yeah,
okay,
40.
Wow. Okay.
What were the priorities going to be? And so that was the start of our vision plan that we called Imagine the Future of Open Space.
So let's take a look at the vision plan. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so the vision plan was a project that we started with the objective of engaging the public in the open space and the work of the Open Space District, and to develop a process that was informed by the best science available. And so to accomplish this, we held over probably 24 public workshops, and over 2,000 conversations, different conversations with the community. And then from that developed 54 open space priority actions, that we call them projects, that we want to accomplish into the future. Some of the big goals for those were to provide public access. That was one of the most common themes that we heard as we were doing the vision plan.
I think we have a slide on that about what the community spoke about in those conversations. You've got a word cloud here in the thing. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so the word cloud, what we did as we carried on these conversations was we took the input that we received and we recorded how many times we heard individual words. And from that, we then produced this graphic. And the larger the word means that that's more frequently that we heard it. So if you're looking at this word cloud, you can see that trails was the most popular word that came up in these conversations. And then you see a lot of words that are kind of the next size down, and those all relate to our management of the land. And that was another very popular theme that we heard in these conversations. The public wanted to have opportunities to get on the land, and they wanted to see us taking care of the land.
So we have heard what they want, and so you guys have this tough job of how do you interpret what they want? What do you do? And what do they expect to see? What does it mean to the public if you do your job?
Yeah, and that was another interesting result that we had from all this work that we were doing to really engage the public and hear from the people that use our open space and value the open space, what do they really see the Open Space District doing for the region?
And I think we have a slide that summarizes that public response.
Yeah, so if we're looking at that, you see that 95% of the people that we spoke to believe that the open space improves their quality of life and is a valuable public resource. 89% of them believe that the open space contributes to the health and the wellness in the area. 79% believe that the open space provides economic benefits by attracting firms, for instance, and encouraging tourism. And then 94% believe that the open space provides a relief from urban density. So we took this information in and we really used that in developing our priorities and our actions that we want to take on in the next 40 years.
So this is a community-driven vision.
Oh, very much so, yes.
So let's turn over to Casey and ask her, given this community vision, what projects is Midpen undertaking now?
Yeah, so as part of the vision plan, we developed 25 top priority projects. These are illustrated here as yellow stars. You can see that they're dispersed throughout the district boundary, and that was a goal of the vision plan, was to develop projects that reached all of our users. These projects cover a lot of different topics, different conservation projects and different access projects. There's 200 miles of new additional trails that are covered in these projects, and the completion of a number of different very important regional trail connections, such as the Bay Area Ridge Trail and connections from Skyline all the way down to the sea.
Casey, what's the Bay Area Ridge Trail? Where does that go from and to?
Well, there's the Bay Area Ridge Trail. The goal of the Bay Area Ridge Trail is to provide a continuous loop that's multi-use around the entire bay. Right now in our region, we have parts of the Bay Area Ridge Trail, but there are still some significant gaps. And this vision plan, these projects are addressing those gaps.
So I fell into one of those significant gaps because I bike.
Oh, yes.
So I cycled up from Palo Alto onto the Baylands, and I followed the Stevens Creek Trail. And every time I tried it, it went a little bit further. Yes. And I went further and further and further. I got into the middle of Los Altos, and then it suddenly stopped. So I'm waiting for this to continue. What's going to happen for the Stevens Creek Trail?
So for the Stevens Creek Trail, we have two projects that we're working on. That's more of a collaboration. There's one that's more of the upland Stevens Creek area. It's over here. And that's a collaboration to meet that gap. And then there's work that we'll be doing here, working with cities to collaborate to help meet that gap as well.
Wonderful. Kirk, tell us a little bit more about a couple of the these projects. Maybe you're showing us something on the laptop?
Yeah, absolutely. I have two projects that I think we should look at. The first one is a project that we call the La Honda Creek Driscoll Ranch area of that open space preserve. And that project is aimed at opening that preserve for the public to be able to get on it and use it. That preserve is a roughly 5,000 acre preserve. It's an active cattle ranch, and we're going to be providing trails for the public to be able to recreate on that property. The property also happens to have quite a bit of valuable habitat for lots of wildlife.
Including wildlife,
yes,
people on bicycles.
Yes, yes, this is one of the uses that we'll be able to have on the property. And you're looking down in this photo, one of the canyons. There are 3 main streams that go through the property, and they provide habitat for steelhead trout, coho salmon, again, red-legged frogs, and San Francisco garter snake potentially on this property. It's a wonderful piece of land.
Okay, let's take a look at another project.
All right, the other property...
Actually, because it's hard to know from this, tell us geographically where we are.
Yeah, so this project, Sierra Azul, is our largest open space preserve. It's 20,000 acres, and it's down in the South Bay. It's south of San Jose, actually, south and west of San Jose. It's the mountain peak that we're talking about on this project is Mount Umunum. It's the second highest peak in the Santa Cruz Mountains. It's actually on the divide. When you're standing on the peak, one direction you're looking at San Francisco Bay, you turn around, you look the other direction, you're looking at Monterey Bay. So it's a wonderful piece of land. And again, this project is a project to be able to open this land so that we can allow everybody to be able to get up and take in these views. It's a very high peak. It's at nearly 4,000 feet. So it's among the highest peaks in the Bay Area, equal to Mount Hamilton, Mount Diablo, and Mount Tamalpais.
So let's take a look at another one.
All right. Actually, I don't believe that we have another one.
Well, I'm thinking about 4,000 feet, and that means that you could have snow there. Is there the potential for snow play for families?
Absolutely. It snows there every year. And so one of the challenges of this project is going to be providing the roadway so that people can drive up there. It was a former Air Force station, and so there is a road that leads up to the top. Our work has been to restore the land to natural habitat, but we are keeping the road, and we're going to reopen it so the public can drive up to the top.
When's that going to happen?
Well, that's a little ways off. It's a big job, but we are working on building a trail right now with a staging area so you can park and you can hike up to the top, and that should be ready and open within 2 years.
Terrific. So I see Casey has taken over the laptop. What are you going to show us here, Casey?
Yeah, so I showed the map of the top 25 future open space projects, but we wanted to do something else that would give people a little bit more information about what these projects are. So what we did, we told the story of the top 25 open space projects through an interactive web tool that we created, and it's called a story map. And so, should we take a look at it? Okay.
Let's look at the laptop.
All right, so the first page here, this shows the top 25 projects. The projects are all of these yellow stars. It explains a little bit of information about how we arrived at the top 25 projects. And this was really based on what the public asked for. So we're really trying to get this tool out to show the public what we're actually doing and the work that we're actually doing in people's backyards and in the Santa Cruz Mountains. So we invite people in to explore the projects. So we can go through, and we use a lot of rich imagery showing the picture of the project area. A lot of our projects are actually closed to the public, so these pictures and imagery is really important because much of the public haven't seen these locations. So we really needed to see this in the story map.
And so the reason it's closed is, of course, these are the future projects.
Yes, these are the future projects.
And so, in fact, this online display is really the way for people to understand what is it that you're planning to do.
Absolutely.
And it's using this new tool of geographic information systems, whereas in the past, you'd all have been buried away in your closed offices working on this alone, and nobody would know what's going on with the 25 projects.
Yes.
You're taking the time to put on the current thinking about what the plan is for the project so that the public can come in and take a look and say, oh, I want to take my kid to Mount Amanam to do snow play, and you know, are you going to have places for toboggans? And this is a chance for them to say that. Okay, how are they going to tell you? They go in, they look at Mount Amanam, and how are you going to take that public input?
Yeah, so we developed 25 projects. The project description is somewhat broad right now, but as we start working on our project, then we will invite them in to help with the planning process.
So how's that going to happen? I'd like to drive down.
Yeah.
How can you invite them in? So they put the comment on the website.
What will probably happen is that the public will be notified. We will have meetings and stakeholder groups. In the past, with the vision plan, we used different interactive tools that were online called mind mixers, so people could rank things and look at information online. But we would also go out to the community as well and have public meetings where we hear them.
How do you normally tell the community about these public meetings? Are they announced?
We've done lots of different types of outreach. For the vision plan, we did flyers, we did direct mailing, we posted on social media sites, we different radio stations picked it up and announced it. So we do a lot of different outreach to really get out there.
Do you partner with local organizations?
We do. We actually post on different people's listservs, like cities listservs, and we take advantage of other agencies' notifications.
And do you work with the cities that are in the area, like Palo Alto, Half Moon Bay? How do the cities get involved?
Well, in a variety of different ways. One is that they are notified of our public meetings, but as part of our vision plan process, we actually had a community advisory committee, and that was a lot of different stakeholders and some elected officials that came and actually helped build our vision plan.
Wow. This is a big vision, 25 projects. Of course, I'm a hiker, so 200 miles of trail. I want it, and I want it now.
So do I.
What's the pressing question, Kirk, today about how to get these 25 projects in place? What are we doing? What can the public do to support to make this happen?
Yeah, and that was really what moved our board towards looking at a funding measure. And so we have a measure on the upcoming ballot in June to provide the funds for us to be able to implement these 25 top-tier priority actions that came out of the vision plan. We estimate that that's going to be about $300 million worth of work, and that's what we're going to the voters to ask them if they would pay for that. And that's the funding measure to allow us to do this work that much quicker. We can do this work without that funding measure. It'll just take us much longer to do. So having those funds come in will allow us to get this work done that much faster.
So how much faster is that?
Well,
I know it's a tough question. No one wants to commit, but
yeah.
How much time does $300 million buy us in terms of these 25 projects?
Yeah, it's a 30-year bond measure is our funding measure. So we're hopeful that we can get the work done in shorter amount of time than 30 years, however. But it's going to mean growth for the district to be able to do this much work because we have 200 miles of trails open now. We want to double that. We want to open as much as we have open now again. So that's going to mean that we're going to have to be a bigger agency to be able to get that work done and open that land and provide all these trails for the public.
Well, all I can say is keep up the good work. I mean, it's so important. You're preserving the land for future generations. Casey, how can people get involved with Midpen?
Well, the first thing you can do is go out and use your land. There's so much beautiful places. Go out, refresh your spirit, bring people out there that haven't been out there before. It's really important to introduce people to the environment and see what's out there, especially children, so we can steward the lands in the future.
So if you've got a coworker who says, I'm stressed,
yes,
what should you say to them?
I would say, let's go out for a hike in Piketty, and we can do some wine tasting, because we do have a winery on one of our preserves.
Where's the winery?
It's in Piketty Open Space Preserve.
And
you
where's that?
You can find all that information on our district website on openspace.org.
Okay.
Yes.
So, volunteers?
We're
docents?
always looking for volunteers and docents. We use volunteers to help build trails, to pull invasive weeds, to do different types of mapping. We also use docents to, we have a Daniels Nature Center, which is a great place to bring small children, and adults have fun too. We are always looking for a host for the Daniels Nature Center. So if you visit our website, openspace.org, it has lots of information on what you can do. We have activities scheduled almost 365 days a year.
So that's openspace.org, O-P-E-N,
Yes.
S-P-A-C-E.org.
Yes.
You gotta go, everyone.
Yes.
So this sounds like such a great opportunity to get involved with preserving the land and keeping it beautiful. We do live, we're privileged to live in the place that we do. And I join you in spirit in all that you're doing. So I want to thank you for coming and all that you've done to help keep the land for us. And we have a closing video which Amanda Kim helped to prepare. And so we'll close with that. And thank you, Casey. Thank you, Kirk, for coming in.
Yes,
Let's take a look at that video, and bye-bye till next time.